If you take a look, so the larger the budget, the more you need to consider how the film is going to make its money back, and that is going to affect your creative choices. In other countries, I think films are made purely as art, but they are financed and supported differently. I think that in Europe, the government helps fund films because they consider them art forms, where in the States, it's a business, so that you have to raise it based on the ability of how it's going to sell later.
你好，我的问题很简单，就是您刚才说的一些就是在电影制作前期的一些准备啊等等一些过程。我们知道在美国它是很注重前期的一些准备的，在中国往往都是相对来说更草率一些，所以我想问的就是在美国就你们制作过程中在前期需要花大概多长时间的这样一个准备？谢谢。
Well, I think the question is how long does it take to prepare? I think it depends upon the script. I can tell you the film that I'm preparing now is a futuristic film that takes place 1,000 years into the future. And the production designer has been on for a year conceptualizing the designs. And we start shooting in 15 weeks on February 4th. So we will have spent 6 months in full prep before we even start shooting. I've had other films that are done in 2.5 months of preparation. So it varies, and the way you decide is it a contemporary story? Is it a period film? What needs to be made? And the thing to remember is, it's you can do a lot of preparing even before you decide to get financing. So one thing to think about is when you're developing the script and before you go out for investors, take a moment to think, okay, do I need to take some time and do some further work just to feel solid about what you decide to make? That way, once you take the money, the clock starts ticking and the pressure starts building. So I think always try to have more time, but you're always going to be faced with less. So it's a hard one to say because, I mean, the normal pre-production here is 2 months. Is it 8 weeks normally? I mean, I think it's something that hasn't really been developed where the more time you spend in pre-production, the less it's going to cost during your shooting. One thing that we talk about all the time is going over schedule. The main reason we go over schedule is we start shooting unprepared. And it's always going to cost more because the shoot days are more expensive than the prep days. So that's one thing that we emphasize a lot in Hollywood, just because it's costs less. And if you're more effective during shooting, you get, you're spreading money out. Another question?
您好，
Oh, go ahead.
我想先问一个小问题，不知道有多少人想问，就是接下来都是提问环节了吗？
Say that again.
就是接下来是不是都是大家来提问了？因为我看您准备了很多卡片，我以为您会讲很多。
No, it's whatever we want. I wanted you guys to ask the questions so that you help guide what you want to know. So if you want to ask a question, feel free, but you can also wait.
好的，下面是我的问题。
Okay. Hopefully it's not a bad one.
是刚刚我们前面这个谢加凯普尔导演说，他说在好莱坞拍片好像是逛超市。然后呢，我也听说，据说好莱坞做电影的就很像工业的流水线，就很多都是设计好的。 就可能说是体系很完备，但是我们大家可能都认为好莱坞的电影很好，但是在我想，好莱坞其实每年会拍很多的片子，但真正好的电影可能也就那么1、2部或者2、3部。 那么有这么完备的体系，为什么很多电影还是失败了？当然这个失败可能就是有不同的理解。我这里说的就是从，比如说从票房上面。第二个问题。 我觉得咱们中国的电影现在从制片人的角度来说的话，可能是越来越成功的。因为很多电影现在都很赚钱，但是口碑却很差。所以我们仍然很多人认为中国电影是失败的。 我不知道您关注过这种现象没有？您是怎么看的？好的，谢谢。
Well, let me start with the second question. What you're saying is your question that is China a viable film industry?
喂，我是说从制片的角度来说，因为他制片，他投资这部电影，目的是为了赚钱，但是现在中国电影确实有些是可以为他赚钱的。 比如说最近的什么画壁啊，还有白蛇传奇吧，好像虽然口碑很差，但是都很赚钱。
Right. Okay. Now I understand. Now I understand. Okay. To your second question. This goes back to what I was saying about how I think the Chinese film industry is similar to the US film industry, meaning that there is an audience that wants to go to the films, meaning this is the opportunity you have where if you put out a film, or let me put it this way, if you release 20 or 30 movies in a month, they're going to go to 20% of them. You know, if they're all bad, there's still going to be 20% that are going to make money just because people want to go to the movies. So I think that it's important to know that in the business, yes, you have to make money in order to be able to make your next film. But Hollywood has been making films for 100 years. They've been exporting them for a good 80 years. And we make a lot of bad movies. We make a lot of bad movies for several reasons. One is that the studios have to put out so many movies a year. Out of the 6 major studios, they need to release 30 movies a year. They make 15 for themselves, and then they go out and they try to buy 15 to satisfy that. And that's a pressure where every day they wake up and they try to figure out how to put together a movie so that they can be, have a full slate. So when films are constantly falling apart because the script's not ready, or a director decides to do something else, or the budget is too high, they're scrambling to make these films. And at times, they may get an actor, they may have a script that's not quite done, and they're going to have to put it into production because they need to finish the year out with a certain amount of films. So they're being forced to do it. Is it a right decision? No, not necessarily, but it's the business that they're in, it's the job that they have. Right now, in China, there isn't that pressure yet. To go to your first question, is Hollywood systematic? Yes, it's systematic to a point because we've been at it for a longer time, where our systems have developed, and we take a lot of pride, and we are given the biggest budgets in the world to make films. But I wouldn't say it takes the heart out of films. I think you're going to make some films for specific reasons, and other times you have an opportunity to make films that are for other reasons, meaning sometimes you need to make a big budget film to satisfy a time of year and if that film is successful, it's going to buy you the time to do a few films that are maybe a little bit more creatively honest. I think here there's an opportunity here where you can define a different system from the States, where you have the opportunity, given that the growth is booming, you have the opportunity to make the films you want and see if they work. And I think that if you make them well, people will go see them. You just have to trust in yourself. In 20, 30 years, it'll be interesting to see how the industry is here and see how similar it is to the States. Is it going to become systematic? Is it going to become where you have so many movie theaters, so many films have to be released in a month? I mean, I find it astounding how many films are released in a month right now, given you have about 7,000 movie theaters. So it'll be interesting to see how that changed. Did I answer your question?
Good day, Ms. Walsh. My name is Wolting. I was just wondering, from an executive point of view, what do you think had Chris Nolan see in Zack Snyder when he appointed him as the director of the new Batman movie? Thank you.
You mean when Chris Nolan supported Zack to do Superman? Superman. Sorry? Oh. Well, I think Chris may have gotten pressure to direct the movie, so he was looking for somebody where he didn't need to direct it, but he could sit back, develop the story, and produce it. I think with Zack, I think he's an incredible visionary, going back to 300, and Warner Brothers with Superman has been trying to develop that for years, and I think probably one of the reasons they were able to get Chris on board to work on the story was to make the deal that he didn't have to direct, and that, you know, Chris probably went out and chose Zack because of his vision. I mean, the interesting thing with that combination is that Chris is so incredible with scripts. I mean, what he did in Inception was amazing. And given that with somebody that's so visual as Zack, it could be a great combination on this. So I think it's, yeah, a partnership. Another question? Yes, you. No, we'll go to her and then we'll go there. Go to her. No. Yeah.
喂，老师你好，我觉得就是我们在选择一个故事以后，真正遇到的问题是如何写剧本。就是因为我们在写剧本的时候总是逻辑不清，或者就是无法设置到一个很好的情节点。就对情节点的设计特别的困难，所以就听说好莱坞导演在构建一个剧本的时候，他会列出来一个便利条，然后贴在板子上，然后以便不断的调整它。然后我想知道你们是不是有个类似于这种模板的东西，就是可以往上套。然后如果有的话，可以分享一下你们这个剧本构建的流程吗
？Wait, say that again. Let me see if I have the question correct. Is there a formula to making a successful script? Okay. Well, I think it's a couple things. First of all, is there a formula? No, there's not a formula. It goes back to trusting your instincts and on if something doesn't feel right, if something you think doesn't look good, the chances are it probably is. And not being afraid to challenge an idea. I think that if there was a formula, I mean, are we trying to come up with formulas for screenplays? All the time. I mean, we're always trying to know what works. But we're constantly reminded every time one film fails and another film is successful, we're proven that we really don't know what an audience is going to go see. So we spend a lot of money, though, writing scripts. And, you know, in Hollywood, we probably are actively developing between 2,500 and 3,000 scripts a year, and only 200 to 300 are made a year. But people are working on those many scripts, and we're spending money on those many scripts. So the pool of writers that we have in the States is huge, where I think here, it's still a developing form where it's probably hard to find screenwriters that are not writers and directors. So I think I mentioned this earlier, is that you need to figure out what process is going to help you finish the screenplay. And everybody's going to have a different process, so that's why you need to think about, okay, if something doesn't feel good, do a table reading with a bunch of actors. That's the worst thing. The first table read, you hate your script. It sounds like crap. But then you start to see what works and doesn't work. I just think that it's one of the, you know, it's the hardest part of the process. I mean, if you're given a script and you're working with the producer, editing, you know, is the fun part, because you have the structure in place, and then you can start playing around with elements that don't seem quite right. So that's the part where changing a location could change the whole tone of the piece, where it wasn't working before. So it's important to consider those things when you're struggling with the story. Did that answer your question? Yes.
老师你好，老师你好，我想问一下，那个您曾经和之前没有导过长片的导演合作过吗？然后在美国，年轻导演一般是通过什么途径获得他们第一次指导电影的机会？谢谢。
When I first started in the film industry, I worked with first-time directors, and I think I had a very, rare opportunity where I started making movies in New York in the 1990s. And it was a time when Miramax was just beginning, and there were between 15 and 20 films in New York being made a year that were between $1 million and $3 million. So those were very inexpensive budgets, and it was a time where everybody was a first-time director. And that's where I started producing. My very first film was an $800,000 film with a first-time director. And what investors looked at was the story as well as the environment they were making it. What I went through in the 90s is very similar to where you are now here in China, because you have a lot of people wanting to invest in films, and they're sitting there trying to make a decision on what film to make. Now, yes, they could be deciding to invest in films because they want to promote an area of the country, or there's a particular actor they want. But what they're doing is they're trying to decide who are they going to choose to be the director. I think, for me, I'm sitting across and seeing how well you know the story, how authentic it feels when you speak about it. And from there. So, I don't know if that answered your question. Okay, I will.
哎，导演好。我现在提问这个问题跟刚才那个女生差不多。我是一个在校的大3的学生。所以说听到刚才有一些问题，感觉有点发懵的感觉，就是好莱坞之类的感觉有点太高端了那种。我感觉像我们这种在校的大学生，像是这个群体吧，有一些怀揣这种梦想的年轻人，有一些茫然，就是不知道具体怎么样去做。就是想问一下，比较实在的一些问题，就是我们这些大学生之类的年轻人，应该怎样具体一步步的努力去达到这么一个梦想，就是很具体的怎样去做。谢谢。
Well, I'm assuming that achieving your dreams is making your film. So, I mean, it's a complicated answer because there's so many details that go into the process. I think once you have a script that you feel good about, you need to start assembling the elements of your cast. And not necessarily getting them to sign a contract, but I think for somebody like me, it's good to see, okay, who are the actors that you would envision for the film. So just having the names and the photos and deciding where you want to shoot it. A location plays such an important part of the story because it can really elevate the dialogue that actors have to say. And then you want to figure out who your partners are going to be, your production designer, your director of photography, costumes, so that an investor or a producer is able to look at it and see what a finished film is going to look like with the people that are involved. And then once you have your financing, then it's figuring out how you want to shoot the movie. I think how to shoot a movie is figuring out the shots, where, and the team that you have, because it is a collaborative. As much as we were talking about, when you're writing the script, you're doing it alone or you're doing it with one other person. When you start pre-production, you're working with a team of people that are there to help support you as a director. I mean, I've always sort of explained filmmaking is very similar to the military, where a group of people is following one person's vision, which is the director. And the more clear you are with your vision, the more support you're going to get from the team to follow you wherever you're going to go. It's very interesting how the team wants to try to realize the vision and the shots that you have in your head. It's incredibly gratifying for a director of photography to find the shot that you've been talking about and then finally get it and get the performance with the actors. So, I mean, it's a hard one. What you say is what is it step by step? Because I think every director will have a different creative process. So how you decide that path is going to be is somewhat personal. So, okay, over here. Okay.
首先我想告诉一下 Mr. Walsh，中间穿那个黄色衣服的人，只是因为主办方的原因呢，现在他们只是一部分入围者，两边没有穿黄衣服的，也是有产生入围的可能性的。所以呢，我希望Mr. Walsh 给大家不穿黄衣服的人一点提问的机会，谢谢。
Okay, that is true.
然后我的问题是呢，您知道由于历史的原因呢，中国的领土有3大板块，有香港、台湾和中国内地，不知道您知道吗？
Say that again.
就是由于历史的原因，中国的领土有三大板块，有香港、台湾、中国内地。
Yes.
OK. 那现在在比如说香港的导演有吴宇森，台湾的导演李安都已经在好莱坞在拍片。那目前呢，我们中国内地这个板块呢，除了姜文拍了也是在好莱坞题材拍了一个短片，目前还没有内地导演在好莱坞拍长片，或者就真正说有国际影响的那种长片。就是我的问题就是说，因为在好莱坞，如果说一个导演在好莱坞拍片的话，我觉得他的其实不管他的什么想法、什么创意，都有可能实现。那我想问一下，如果说我们在座的各位有一天想要去好莱坞拍片的话，您觉得他们需要经历一个什么样的历程？或者说，作为好莱坞来讲，如果说请一个中国内地导演去拍片的话，大概会存在一个什么样的条件？谢谢。
Well, I'm not sure if I got everything, but I understand the last bit. So I think it's an important question. So if you don't feel I answer it, then follow up. Okay. The first question I would say is, why would you want to go to Hollywood in the first place?
这就回到我为什么会喜欢电影这个问题上。我为什么会喜欢电影呢？我觉得电影是一个充满创意的一个事情，从它前期的故事的创意到拍摄，到后期的剪辑、配乐，包括整个结构的不同的剪辑，它会有不同的效果。所以呢，也就是说呢，电影它是一个充满创意的一个产业。那么在好莱坞，如果说在好莱坞拍片的话，那我想以目前好莱坞的技术跟团队的话，只有你想不到的，没有做不到的。就说它会给你任何创意提供支撑，那这个可能就是我想，如果说有可能在好莱坞拍片的话，如果说没有好莱坞那种技术，我想大家也不会看到2012阿凡达，大概是因为这样。
For this reason, we have say that one more time. Oh, Avatar. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that where Hollywood is right now, I think is a very dark time. I think it's a very conservative time for making movies right now. I think the most exciting place is here because you have an environment that's very optimistic and very supportive, where you have the opportunity to do stories that you might not. I think people think by going to Hollywood, you're getting something like an Avatar. I think it's a false sense of security. We certainly have more money in terms of budgets. We have more crew because we've been doing it more, but it's not. You need to be careful with thinking that that's where you want to go. I think you can make the same type of film here as you can, because you can bring people here to help support you. You can bring a DP in from LA. But I think it's important to know, because I think it goes back to, why are you making the film? Are you making the film because you want to make money? Some people choose to do that, and I think that in return makes a certain type of film. If you make a film because you want to get a story out there, you want people to understand something that is in the story, I think then that's the gratification of the director. In Hollywood, it shows, it's from an earlier question, you have a lot of companies in Hollywood trying to figure out how they can get money here and how to make films here. And I certainly wouldn't go to LA if I were you. I would stay here and make films here. I think, to what you said earlier about Taiwan, Hong Kong, and mainland, I don't consider the film industry of Taiwan and Hong Kong the same as mainland, because I think they develop differently. And you see, a lot of Hong Kong filmmakers working here. I mean, to go to your question, how would you explain John Woo? How would you explain John Woo leaving Hong Kong, going to LA, and then coming back to mainland and deciding to make his films here? I think he probably has chosen that because he feels more creatively free.